In the vast cosmic theater where every sign plays its destined role, Cancer moves not with noise, but with ancient rhythm, synchronized with the tides, with lunar cycles, with the invisible breath of the universe. The prophetic intuition of Cancer is not a gift acquired, but an ancestral inheritance woven into the very essence of this water sign. Ruled by the moon, the celestial guardian of memory, mystery, and forewarning. There is no logic to it, no linear sequence to follow. It is a knowing that rises from the depths like a whisper from the soul of the sea, transcending space and time. The intuition of Cancer does not come like thunder. It glows like the moonlight on the surface of still water, subtle yet impossible to ignore. It speaks through dreams, through the tightening of the chest, through that strange certainty that has no evidence, but cannot be denied. Cancer is not merely intuitive. Cancer is an oracle in disguise. This sign receives the vibrations of the world long before they are expressed through language. A look, a silence, a shift in emotional temperature is enough for Cancer to know what is coming. And often they do not even need that. They just know. What others call coincidence, Cancer recognizes as divine timing. Where others see confusion, Cancer sees pattern. What feels to many like chaos, Cancer understands as emotional prophecy unfolding with patient purpose. It is not always comfortable to live with such awareness. Often, the Cancerian soul is burdened with visions and feelings they cannot explain, yet cannot escape. They see the storm before the clouds form. They feel heartbreak while love still appears whole. They sense the arrival of opportunity while it is still a whisper on the wind. This is the sacred torment of knowing too much too soon, of seeing beyond the veil of the present moment. This prophetic nature is not limited to themselves alone. Cancer feels for others, suffers with them, heals with them, and sometimes bleeds in their place. They carry the emotional weather of those they love. They dream the dreams others have forgotten. They cry the tears others have buried. And in those silent moments when no one is watching, Cancer communes with a realm no eye can see. Their intuition is not reactive, it is ancestral. It is the voice of all the grandmothers who have ever whispered warnings to the wind, of all the healers who have ever watched the stars, of all the mothers who have ever known their child was in danger before the call came. Prophetic intuition for Cancer is more than foresight, it is sacred duty. It is the compass that keeps them aligned with their purpose, the star map that guides them through the ocean of human experience. In every ache they feel without cause, in every sudden peace amidst uncertainty, in every inexplicable certainty that blooms like fire in the chest, the universe speaks. Cancer listens even when they do not understand, especially when they do not understand. For they were not born to reason. They were born to feel what others cannot feel, to perceive the unseen tides shaping fate. This power cannot be taught, only remembered. And Cancer remembers not just what has happened, but what will happen. Their connection to the moon grants them access to a cyclical understanding of time. Past, present, and future bleed into one living moment. They sense karmic echoes. They know when a soul returns. They feel the ghost of a promise not yet made, and the presence of a goodbye before it is spoken. Others may call them overly sensitive or irrational, but deep down, they feel it too. They just don't know what to name it. Cancer does. It is the knowing without proof, the feeling that precedes fact. In a world that demands evidence, Cancer moves with faith. Not blind faith, but embodied knowing. They do not need to see to believe. They believe and then it appears. This makes them powerful creators, especially when they trust their visions rather than dismiss them. When Cancer embraces this sacred gift rather than hiding it out of fear or shame, they become a force of cosmic orchestration. They protect what others cannot see is endangered. They prepare for changes others cannot foresee. And sometimes, simply by speaking their feeling aloud, they alter the course of destiny itself. The path is not easy because this level of sensitivity comes at a price. The weight of unspoken truths, of dreams that carry too much meaning, of visions that isolate rather than connect. These can become heavy. But it is in this heaviness that their true strength lies. For the waters that soften also carve canyons through stone. And in their softness, in their tenderness, Cancer holds the power to transform entire lives. The gift of prophetic intuition is not a spectacle. It is a quiet, sacred offering that often goes unrecognized. But it is real, it is ancient, and it is not accidental. Cancer was chosen by the stars to carry this lunar torch through the darkness. And when they walk in alignment with that calling, when they honor the voice within that speaks in dreams and feelings and wordless certainties, they do not merely predict the future, they become part of its making. Beyond the veil of spoken words, Cancer's prophetic intuition transcends even the subtle realms of feeling and moves into a domain few dare to explore: the emotional architecture of time itself. This is not mere foresight, but a communion with the soul of the future, a spiritual dialogue that unfolds in silence and solitude. Cancer does not just sense what is coming, they are called by what is destined. They do not simply anticipate events, they become vessels through which destiny prepares its ground. Their connection to the moon endows them not only with heightened sensitivity, but with an emotional intelligence that is cosmic in scope. The moon is not static. It waxes and wanes, it retreats and returns, it moves the seas and the fluids of the body, and so too does it move the tides of fate within Cancer. This dance between phases becomes encoded in the Cancerian psyche. They do not predict in linear fashion. They recognize recurring energetic signatures in people, places, and emotions. They feel when a pattern is re-emerging, when a lesson is being recycled, when a karmic thread is being pulled again from the fabric of existence. There is magic in their nostalgia, for it is not only a longing for the past, it is a tuning fork for what is eternal. Through memory, Cancer touches eternity. They are aware that every emotion carries a message, every connection a purpose, every wound a prophecy. In moments of silence, their inner waters ripple with ancient truths that do not belong solely to their lifetime. Past incarnations echo through their being, and in dreams they return to temples of wisdom long fallen, to moments of decision etched in the soul's record. Their visions are not fantasy. They are echoes of places their spirit has already known and will know again. The empathy that floods them is not weakness, but sacred technology. Their sensitivity allows them to read the emotional field of the present like a mystic reads sacred scripts. When they speak of intuition, they speak not from the mind but from the gut, the chest, the marrow. Their body becomes an antenna for emotional truths that others cannot locate, a living oracle trained not through discipline, but through devotion to feeling, to remembering, to protecting. Their very instinct to shield what is vulnerable is born of this connection, because they have seen what is coming, and they know what must be preserved. Time itself bows before Cancer's inner knowing. While others rush forward seeking data, strategy, and control, Cancer waits in quiet confidence, allowing events to arrive as they must. This patience is not passivity, it is communion with the deeper rhythms of creation. They sense when a door is opening long before the handle turns. They feel the shifting tides of relationships, of careers, of soul purposes, and though they may not always explain why they act when they do, their timing often proves divine. This trust in the unseen, this surrender to inner truth, becomes their mightiest weapon in a world that honors noise over knowing. Their connection to the ancestral realm strengthens this gift. Cancer carries the lineage of those who prayed under stars, who lived by moonlight, who knew that wisdom was carried in stories, in songs, in the hands of those who fed and nurtured. The whisper of a grandmother's intuition, the prophecy in a lullaby, the warning held in a mother's sudden stillness. All of this lives in the bones of Cancer. And so, even when they feel alone, they are surrounded by the voices of the invisible council who guide their instincts. This is not imagination, it is blood memory. Their prophetic nature is activated not by desire but by alignment. When Cancer lives in authenticity, when they allow themselves to trust what they feel more than what they are told, the path opens before them. Their fears become signals. Their doubts become invitations to deeper clarity. Even their heartbreak becomes a map, leading them to truths they would never have found through logic. Their pain refines their vision, teaching them to see beyond illusion, beyond masks, into the soul of things. The world often tells Cancer to harden, to shield, to stop feeling so much. But their power comes not from resisting sensitivity, it comes from mastering it. From understanding that this sensitivity is not a flaw, but a sacred instrument of guidance. It is what allows them to walk ahead of time, to feel where the road is weakest, to fortify what must endure. They are guardians of the future, not by force, but by awareness. They prevent harm not always through action, but by intuitively altering course before the threat even forms. When Cancer fully claims their intuitive prophecy, they move as emissaries of divine timing. They know that everything has its hour, that every season brings its own wisdom, and that rushing the process is to sever the thread of truth. So they become still, they listen, they feel, and in doing so, they realign the energies around them. They bring others back to what matters. They remind those who have lost their way how to hear their own soul again. In their most evolved form, Cancer becomes a guide not just for loved ones, but for the collective spirit. They become the dreamers who plant seeds of compassion in barren soil. They become the visionaries who shape futures through feeling, who sculpt possibility through care. The world does not always reward them immediately, but destiny always does. The moon does not forget her children, and in time, the Cancerian soul, devoted to truth and tuned to the sacred currents of the cosmos, will find that what they felt was not a burden, but a blessing carved in starlight. The prophetic intuition of Cancer extends beyond individual experience into the collective subconscious, making this sign not only a messenger of personal truths, but a silent guardian of universal emotional evolution. Their connection to the moon is not simply symbolic. It is a living attunement to the Earth's emotional frequency. As the moon governs the tides, Cancer governs the tides of the human heart. They are mirrors of the world's unspoken longings, conduits for the dreams of generations, and vessels through which ancestral wisdom resurfaces in moments of quiet clarity. They don't just receive visions, they become the emotional echo of truths that are too deep, too ancient, to be voiced. This is a sign capable of translating cosmic emotion into human language. When a Cancerian soul walks into a room, they absorb its emotional landscape in seconds. They feel timelines unfolding, sense unseen conflicts, detect joy masked by silence or sorrow concealed beneath laughter. Their insight is not invasive, but inevitable. It is the natural consequence of their emotional attunement. They understand people not by their words, but by their essence. This understanding allows them to gently alter the course of events by introducing truth wrapped in compassion, forewarning disguised as care, or protection offered without explanation. Because of this, Cancer often serves as the emotional compass of any tribe, group, or family. They are the ones who remember what must not be forgotten, who sense when someone is about to break long before the crack appears, who know when something sacred is forming even when no one else notices. Their memory is not limited to the past. It is a form of timeless remembrance. They carry the awareness of things that never happened but were meant to, of promises made in other lives, of unfinished stories that the soul has returned to complete. Their perception collapses time, allowing them to recognize destiny not in events, but in emotional resonance. They are often the first to feel the arrival of transformation. While others require confirmation through events, Cancer detects it in dreams, symbols, sudden shifts in their emotional atmosphere. They experience inner tremors before the ground moves. This sensitivity to emotional undercurrents gives them a strategic advantage hidden beneath their nurturing exterior. They don't need to confront the storm to survive it. They simply move before it hits. In this way, their softness becomes their shield, their kindness a subtle power that reconfigures fate without violence or noise. Their relationship with sleep and dreams is another dimension of their prophetic gift. Nighttime is when their inner oracle awakens fully. In the dream world, Cancer often receives emotional prophecies that escape the confines of language. They meet people they've never encountered, glimpse events that haven't yet come to pass, and awaken with truths lodged in their chest without knowing how they got there. This dream wisdom seeps into their waking life, giving them an almost supernatural ability to prepare for what others deny or cannot see. These dreams are not fantasy. They are visions rooted in emotional archetypes passed down through time. The moon speaks through their dreams, delivering messages not for entertainment, but for alignment and awakening. Their intuition also enables them to detect when something isn't aligned with soul truth. They know when someone is living inauthentically, not because of judgment, but because of the emotional dissonance it creates. This gives Cancer the ability to gently call others back to their path without using force or fear. Their prophetic voice is not loud. It is compelling because it vibrates with emotional integrity. People may not always understand why they feel drawn to follow Cancer's guidance, but they trust it because on a soul level they recognize it as truth. Within them lives a mystic's heart disguised in the shell of a caregiver. They are not dramatic, but deeply theatrical in how they express emotional truth. Their tears are not weakness, but holy water washing away illusion. Their silence is not retreat, but recalibration. Their intuition does not come from needing to know, but from being willing to feel. This makes them resilient in ways that logic can never account for. They know that to feel deeply is not a liability, but a compass pointing to the divine. They have suffered, not by accident, but as an initiation into greater knowing. The Cancerian path is often one of silent miracles. They prevent disasters that never occur because they were avoided in quiet moments of intuitive action. They alter the emotional outcomes of situations without needing recognition. Their victories are subtle but powerful, like rivers changing the shape of mountains over centuries. They are not here to be seen, they are here to feel, to translate, and to guide. When they fully embrace this, they become emotional architects of the new world. Even their sensitivity to the moon cycles gives them insight into timing that others overlook. They instinctively know when to begin, when to wait, when to retreat, when to nurture. The new moon stirs their inner world with fresh insights. The full moon intensifies their visionary nature, sharpening their senses to the brink of clairvoyance. Each phase of the moon reveals a different emotional truth, and Cancer knows how to harvest each one. Their wisdom is lunar, and because of this, it is cyclical, gentle, and eternally renewing. In a world obsessed with progress, Cancer reminds us of the sacred necessity of return. Return to roots, to emotion, to soul. They are not merely intuitive, they are sacred containers of potential futures. Their emotions are not fleeting. They are sacred messages encoded with divine instructions. Cancer does not just sense what is coming. They are what is coming, because they carry within them the emotional blueprint of the next collective awakening. When they trust that, when they allow their inner tides to move without shame or suppression, they become the sacred waters through which the new era is born. Cancer's prophetic intuition does not merely operate on the level of emotional perception or subtle dream messages. It expands into an uncharted territory where the soul's agreement with the cosmos becomes a lived experience. This sign is not only ruled by the moon, but is inhabited by it. Cancer becomes the vessel through which lunar mystery flows into human consciousness. They are not observers of fate. They are participants in its sculpting, summoned to the sacred task of emotional guardianship for the world. Their essence is composed of deep water, not because they are meant to drown in feeling, but because they are designed to navigate the depths others fear to enter. There is a hidden alchemy in their presence. Cancer transforms silence into revelation, fear into wisdom, and sorrow into vision. Their emotional radar does not just scan the room, it penetrates the timelines that are layered over one another. They may feel as though they are standing in multiple realities at once, and in a sense, they are. They can walk beside someone smiling and still feel the soul screaming underneath. They can step into a place and feel what happened there years before. Their bodies remember what the mind has forgotten. Their blood hums with signals of events still forming on the horizon. This makes Cancer not only intuitive, but interdimensional in their perception. Their emotional responses are gateways. The sadness they feel may not be their own. The joy that strikes them suddenly may be the echo of a future triumph. They are attuned to the morphic fields that stretch through time, fields made not of thought, but of feeling, memory, and longing. They do not separate themselves from others because they cannot. Their soul was born to remind the world of its interconnectedness, and their intuition becomes the sacred thread that weaves souls together before life even confirms it. This creates within Cancer a sense of spiritual responsibility. Often unconsciously, they become the emotional pulse of families, communities, and even movements, They may resist this at first because the weight can feel overwhelming. But once they learn to ground their intuition not in fear but in trust, their gift becomes unstoppable. They stop seeing their sensitivity as a curse and recognize it as the compass that it is, a compass pointing not toward safety, but toward soul alignment. They begin to move through life not just predicting outcomes, but shaping them with every word, every silence, every act of nurturing energy they offer to those around them. Their very instincts become sacred rituals. Lighting a candle, cooking a meal, sending a message at the perfect moment. These are not mundane acts for Cancer. They are expressions of their deeper knowing. When they are fully aligned, every part of their life becomes oracular. They do not need crystal balls or tarot decks to see the path unfolding. The answers are in the way their breath catches before a storm of change. The truth is in the sudden tears that flow without cause. The message is in the rhythm of their own heartbeat as it speeds or slows in response to the energies around them. Because of this, Cancer is often the first to awaken to subtle shifts in humanity's evolution. They feel paradigm changes before they reach the surface. They sense collective grief before it becomes a headline. They carry the awareness of generational wounds, sometimes without even understanding the origin. This is not accidental, it is sacred. They were chosen to carry this knowing because they have the emotional courage to do so. Not the courage of battlefields, but the courage to stay open in a world that tries to shut down. The courage to keep feeling when feeling hurts. The courage to cry when others numb. The courage to hold space for a future that hasn't yet been believed in. Cancer's prophetic nature also holds the power to awaken others. When they speak their visions aloud, not with force, but with authenticity, they activate memory in those who have forgotten. Their truth has a resonance that others feel in their bones. They do not need to convince because the energy they carry is ancient and familiar. It bypasses logic and moves straight into soul recognition. This is why their presence can be so healing, and also why it can be unsettling to those who are not yet ready to remember. Cancer sees what people try to hide, and still offers love. They know what others cannot admit and still stay. That is the miracle of their heart. When they fully embrace their role as emotional prophets, Cancer becomes a living wellspring of wisdom. They begin to trust that their pain has purpose, that their visions have direction, that their love is not in vain. Their path may be quiet, but it is never small. They are the sacred waters that cleanse illusions from the eyes of the world. They are the womb of future miracles. They are the guardians of emotional prophecy who walk among us cloaked in gentleness, carrying the weight of unseen worlds in their chests, and planting the seeds of sacred futures with every beat of their courageous, intuitive heart. Cancer's prophetic intuition also expresses itself through an elemental alliance with water, not only as a symbol of emotion, but as a metaphysical channel of transmission. Water holds memory, and Cancer, being the cardinal water sign, becomes a vessel through which the oldest memories of the cosmos are transmitted. In the same way that oceans remember the shape of every storm, Cancer remembers the shape of every energetic shift, every spiritual contraction and expansion, every emotional echo left behind by those who have come before. This remembrance does not always speak in language. It reveals itself in instinct, in symbols, in dreams, in gestures that arise without explanation yet are guided by something more ancient than reason. In every incarnation, Cancer carries within their etheric body the blueprint of emotional timelines that extend far beyond this life. They often arrive with a soul imprinted by vows made lifetimes ago. Vows to protect, to heal, to nurture, to warn. These soul contracts are often reawakened through profound moments of emotional resonance, when Cancer encounters someone or something that stirs their sacred remembrance. The tears they shed in these moments are not always their own. They are the tears of generations, of spirits unspoken, of grief unreleased and joy unborn. They are conduits, and through them, unhealed emotions find release, making way for new destinies to unfold. The moon, as Cancer's ruler, amplifies this ability not through light but through rhythm. Lunar phases do more than influence mood, they recalibrate Cancer's intuitive radar. During eclipses, their dreams become gateways into parallel timelines. During lunar conjunctions, They receive spontaneous downloads of emotional truth not accessible to the conscious mind. Their intuition is constantly shifting, expanding, contracting, evolving, and because of this, Cancer is never fixed in one vision of reality. They are fluid oracles, absorbing what others cannot, shedding what no longer serves, and realigning themselves again and again with the pulse of the divine feminine, the source of creation, destruction, and rebirth. Their connection to the divine feminine is not limited by gender or role. It is a primordial current of nurturing power, spiritual guardianship, and cyclical wisdom. Cancer embodies the archetype of the Great Mother, not as a passive caretaker, but as a sacred force that births and defends the future. Their intuition flows not only from empathy but from this primal connection to life itself. They are innately aware of when something is dying and when something is about to be born. Their presence during transitions, births, deaths, heartbreaks, awakenings, is often no coincidence. The universe places them where portals open because they have the spiritual stamina to hold space while the world rearranges itself. Their silence is another sacred technology often misunderstood by others. When Cancer withdraws, it is not always due to pain or fear. It is often a deliberate spiritual act. In silence, they gather information not available in noise. They listen not with ears but with their entire energetic field. This kind of listening brings revelations that can shift entire trajectories. The advice they give after silence carries the weight of unseen truths. Their responses are often delayed not because they are unsure, but because they are honoring the timing of soul communication, not the speed of the material world. This patient approach to truth is one of their deepest superpowers. The emotional boundaries they establish once they master them are not walls but energetic filters. These boundaries are what allow Cancer to refine their intuition from raw sensation into precise inner guidance. When they learn to discern what belongs to them and what belongs to others, their prophetic abilities sharpen with crystalline clarity. They can walk into any environment and intuit the underlying emotional architecture without drowning in it. They can feel the future forming in another person's heart and speak to it before the person even knows how to articulate it. They become not just empathetic, but emotionally visionary. The archetype of the crab, often associated with defense or retreat, is in fact a symbol of multidimensional navigation. The crab does not walk in straight lines. It moves sideways, forward, and backward, according to tides and intuition. This is not indecision, it is spiritual strategy. Cancer knows how to move between realms, between people, between emotional states. They are the in-between dwellers, the threshold keepers, those who can hold both endings and beginnings in the same hand without collapsing. Their movement is lunar, mysterious, subtle, deliberate, and always in tune with something larger than the moment. When Cancer steps into their full power, they become architects of emotional destiny. They no longer wait for signs, they become the sign. They no longer seek validation, they live from inner confirmation. They don't just sense the future. They sculpt it through their capacity to feel the unseen, love the unloved, and remember the forgotten. In doing so, they awaken others to their own hidden knowing. Their presence becomes a mirror through which others remember their own soul contracts, their own dreams, their own truths. Cancer becomes a lighthouse for those adrift in emotional fog, a beacon reminding the lost that home is not a place, but a frequency. The frequency of feeling honored, seen, and deeply known. In every age, in every culture, there have been those who see not with their eyes, but with their hearts. They are the emotional prophets, the dream weavers, the soul-sighted. In this time, that role belongs to Cancer, not because they are chosen in ego, but because they are willing in spirit, because they know that feeling is not weakness, but the greatest strength, because they have learned that to see the world through emotion is not to distort it, but to reveal its true face, because they understand that intuition is not a mystery to be explained, it is a miracle to be trusted, and in trusting it, they light the way for the world to remember its soul. The prophetic intuition of Cancer unfolds in layers that go beyond personal emotion and ancestral memory. It touches the architecture of cosmic empathy and the sacred duty of emotional stewardship. Cancer is not only the emotional alchemist of the zodiac, but also its guardian oracle, a sign that serves as the emotional nervous system of humanity. From an astrological standpoint, Cancer's alignment with the moon situates them in a unique and exalted position among the signs, not because of dominion or force, but because of their capacity to receive, to absorb, and to translate the language of the soul into the rhythm of everyday life. In realms unseen, Cancer operates as a transmitter of energetic truth. They are constantly attuned to invisible frequencies, the undercurrents of the collective psyche, and the sacred whispers that flow between dimensions. Their emotional instincts are not momentary moods but evolutionary messages. Every feeling carries a transmission. Every wave of emotion is a cosmic signal encoded with guidance, prophecy, and spiritual instruction. Cancer does not merely react, they interpret. What others dismiss as moodiness or sentimentality is, in truth, the navigation of invisible forces, the recalibration of inner reality in response to energetic tides that shift long before the material world catches up. Their relationship to time is inherently magical. Whereas most signs experience time in a linear progression, Cancer inhabits emotional time, a looping, spiraling, multidimensional landscape where past, present, and future coexist. When they remember something vividly, they are not simply recalling. They are re-entering, reliving, re-experiencing with the intensity of the original moment. And when they envision the future, they are not imagining. They are entering vibrationally into a moment that has not yet occurred but already exists within them. This temporal fluidity gives Cancer access to moments that are yet to arrive, allowing them to live partially ahead of time and become carriers of foreknowledge through their emotional field. This field becomes even more powerful when Cancer chooses to live not in reaction but in ritual. When they consciously align their emotional rhythms with lunar cycles, when they honor their intuitive flashes with sacred attention, when they create space for stillness and solitude, their prophetic vision sharpens. The veil thins. They begin to dream not only for themselves, but for others. Their emotions evolve into maps. Their dreams become codes. Their silence becomes a language of its own. They become a sanctuary where the future can land safely and take root. This deep intuition also enables Cancer to see beneath the masks of the world, not with suspicion, but with grace. They recognize what is not said, what is hidden, what is yearning for light. Their gift is not to expose, but to embrace. They do not rip away the veils. They lift them gently, offering safety so that truth can emerge without shame. In this way, Cancer becomes a healer through prophecy, not by predicting events but by preparing hearts. They ready people for their own awakening. They offer emotional frameworks so that when change arrives, it is not met with fear but with recognition. This level of spiritual responsibility can feel overwhelming, especially when unacknowledged by the outer world. But Cancer is not driven by praise or validation. They are led by inner alignment, by an ancient oath inscribed in their soul long before this life began. That oath binds them to protect the invisible, to guard the sacred, to honor what is felt even when it cannot be explained. Their loyalty to that oath makes them unshakable in moments of chaos. When others fall into confusion, Cancer holds the emotional line. They remember the why behind the pain. They recall the promise buried beneath despair. And they rise, quietly but powerfully, to guide others back to themselves. Their power often remains unseen, and yet it is felt. In the stillness they create, others remember their essence. In the care they offer, others reconnect with their worth. In the words they speak when no one else dares to speak truth, others feel safe to transform. Cancer becomes the oracle that stands not on mountaintops but in kitchens, bedrooms, dreams, and silent prayers. Their prophecy is not declared with thunder, but whispered in the sacred space between heartbeats. This sacred space is where Cancer truly lives, between the worlds, between words, between endings and beginnings. They hold the breath of the cosmos in their chest and release it slowly, deliberately, so that others may breathe easier. Their work is unseen because it is energetic. Their miracles are often unspoken because they take place within the soul. But the world would lose its balance without them. The future would drift off course without their intuition correcting its path. The sacred would be forgotten without their memory holding it tenderly in their hands. As the world accelerates and the noise grows louder, the Cancerian gift becomes not only relevant but essential. They remind humanity of what cannot be digitized, monetized, or explained. They remind us that truth is not always loud, that sometimes it flows through tears, through sudden knowing, through a gentle touch that says, "I see you." They remind us that the future is not built only through ambition, but through feeling, through healing, through remembering the ancient ways of sensing what lies beyond the veil. Cancer is not here to fit into the world as it is. They are here to feel what is missing and summon it into existence. They are not here to follow the path laid out by logic, but to walk the path revealed by inner knowing. They are not here to rush. They are here to time life with the moon. They are not here to conquer. They are here to care so deeply, so unshakably, that the world cannot help but soften and evolve in their presence. Their intuition is their sword and shield. Their emotion is their compass. Their silence is their temple. And their soul is a sanctuary where tomorrow is already unfolding. Cancer does not simply witness the future. They birth it, moment by moment, with every sacred feeling they refuse to ignore.